Good morning. It's about toward the end of April out here at Heritage Grove Pecan Farm in Halifax County, Virginia. Just a little quick orchard tour. We've got beautiful green grass and trees have begun to leaf out. Lots of pretty birds flying around today. Just wanted to take a quick tour around the farm. This is a mandan tree I purchased out of Mammoth Cave, Kentucky. And you can see it's got the male part of the tree out here, the catkins, which is what pollinates the flowers that will come later. But good catkin growth. And we'll just walk down the orchard row here a little bit. There are several mandan trees in this part of the orchard, and they look terrific. Now let's walk over here and take a look at this kanza or kanza. And this is a beautiful tree. I planted it 2 years ago, and it's really developing quite well. It takes several years before the tree and the roots get established and before it's really going to take off out here. But it's a beautiful specimen, and what I try to do is put grass clippings for a mulch around the base of all of my trees. It helps with weed management. And in the hot, dry parts of the summer, it helps to retain moisture. It's also a good way to put some organic material back in the ground. The pecan tree needs a good bit of nitrogen and other micronutrients. So that's a beautiful kanza. And let's take a close look here and see if he's putting out any catkins yet. Again, the male part of the tree. Don't really see much happening here yet with the pollen coming out, but we'll just have to be patient, and we'll see what we get here in the next few days. We're going to walk over here and look at a Lakota that I grafted 2 years ago. And again, I put the grass clippings around the bases of the tree. Lots of good benefits that come from that. But this is where the graft union is on the tree. So you can see that's where I did the 4-flap banana graft. And you can still even see the remnants of the flappy part there. And this is actually where the 2 pieces of wood, the rootstock down here and the scion here, and that is the graft union. Looks really good, really strong, and lots of nice growth on this Lakota. Highly resistant to scab, produces a beautiful nut. Fairly early harvest date in the fall, which is good. Not likely to have any problems with frost or freeze toward the end of its growing season. And again, this is just a long look down the row. All of these are mandan trees, so they're really beautiful. Good growth habits. They grow fairly quickly. Lots of good branching structure. But to be honest with you, I do have some problems with leaf scab. And, the nut fill is not always that good. So we're going to work on improving the fertilization of the mandan and probably some irrigation to help that nut kernel quality improve. But the trees are beautiful. I hate to cut them down. Now this is a Gloria Grande This is one of the first trees that I ever successfully grafted here on the farm. I grew this tree from rootstock, which is from a nut, which is basically the seed. And it's just a beautiful little tree. It is producing nuts. It has been producing nuts for me. Yeah, and it's got some vegetative growth around the bottom. And I need to freshen her up with some grass clippings for this current growing season. But let's zoom in here and take a closer look. I do see lots of pollen catkins here on Miss Gloria Grand. If you don't see the pollen strands or the catkins on your young trees, then you're not going to have nuts. Without the pollen, it's not going to pollinate the flower, the female flower on the tree. And if you don't have that combination working, then you will not get nuts. So if you're looking at your trees and wondering, am I going to have any nuts this year? No pollen, no nuts. And that's just the way it works. Let's walk over here and look at another. This is another Kanza or Kanza. And this one I just a couple days ago freshened up with some new grass clippings. And I'll do a video and show you how I collect the grass clippings. It's fairly simple. It does require some tools, but real easy process. But this is a beautiful tree, and I ordered this from Ison's nursery last year, as a matter of fact. So this has only been in the ground coming up on 1 full year here on the farm. So it's nice to see this tree putting out a lot of growth. That's really positive. And then just last weekend I grafted this rootstock, and let's take a look and see what I wrote on the tag here. I can't always remember, so let's see if I can get that in the frame. So this looks like it's going to be, that EX means XL, and that was on April of 2023. And XL is a patented tree, so I cannot propagate that and sell it, so I do not do that. But it is okay for me to graft and use it here on my farm for my own purposes. And it's hard to say if a graft will take or not. We just have to wait and see, give it a little bit of time. But you can see the graft union there where I did all my connecting and taping, and we'll give it a few weeks and see what happens. It's not uncommon for me to have 2 or 3 trees planted at one specific site, and I do that because one tree sometimes does not always survive. And if I can put multiple trees out here, then hopefully with 2 or 3 growing, one of them will be a success. And then I'll just cut down the other ones that I don't want or that aren't performing as well. So beautiful Pawnee. This one was planted in 2012. It's now 2023, and this is one of my top producers on the farm, Pawnee. Quickly growing tree. And this tree, this specific tree, as well as the variety or the cultivar, does produce a substantial amount of nuts. So let's take another look here. I do see the pollen is out. Again, the male part of the tree, the catkin. And we've got lots of good development there for the male part of the tree. Again, that's going to pollinate the female flowers when they come out. The female flowers are not out yet, which is not a bad thing. It's a little early in the growing season here. Our trees, because of the warm temperatures, have begun to develop fairly quickly. And, you know, you could think that's a good thing, but it's not always a good thing, because sometimes Mother Nature will come back and get us with a late frost or late freeze. But we haven't even reached the date of our average last frost here in Virginia. And again, I'm in Halifax County, Virginia, which is on the southern border with North Carolina. This is a tree I grafted last growing season, another Kanza. And let's take a look at this tag and see what it says. Trying to zoom in and get a close look at it, but hard to see with the sunlight. But this was done on May the 5th, 2022, and I got this directly from Dr. William Reed, or Bill Reed, and he's a research scientist for pecans, and I think he's retired from his professional career at the university, but I did drive out and meet him a couple of years ago at his farm. But I ordered these scions from him. I'll unwrap these fairly soon and get my camera set up so I can show you the process of unwrapping the graft. And that's kind of a fun thing to see. Grafting is really enjoyable when it works. Does not always work. And here's another Kanza that I received, a the scion from Dr. Bill Reed. And let me back up a little bit here. You can see the bed of organic material around it, and we're just going to experiment and see how that does. The price of fertilizer has gone up substantially, so maybe this will be a good alternative and put some natural organic matter back in the soil right here around the root zone. But another grafted tree that was very effective and successful from last year's growing season. So this is a 1-year-old graft, and lots of good robust growth here. I see some bugs on there. I'll try to get those off when I can. Not all bugs are bad, but some are. And you can see already there's quite a bit of new shoot development coming up here. This would have been the end of the growth from last year on that darker part, and in just a few weeks we've already got a good 6 or 7 inches of new growth, so that's very positive. And again, I need to unwrap that graft here any day. A little bit behind on some chores out here on the farm, but anyway, just a beautiful, beautiful spring morning out here at Heritage Grove Pecan Farm in Halifax County, Virginia. My name is Russell, and growing pecan trees has been something that I've done for a number of years and brings me great joy. These are again some recent grafts that I performed, and let's come on in here and take a close look. I see a spider on the top right there, which does not bother me, but you can look right there and see the buds. Whenever you perform a graft, you've got to make sure you've got some buds on the scion. No buds, then you're not going to have any new growth. And I do try to sort of pinch off some of the other buds on the rootstock because I want the growth to go into the grafted portion and not so much into improving the rootstock growth itself. I want the graft to grow and be effective. And you can see how I've got this graft wrapped up, and in a few short days and a couple of weeks we'll be able to determine if that's going to be a success. We'll just check a few more here and then I'll wrap up this part of my filming for the day. Let's walk over here and take another look. I've had a lot of trouble getting a graft to take on this particular rootstock, so I've got this one doctored up with multiple attempts at a graft, and whichever one works, that's the one we're going to go with. This is another Kanza. This one over here is XL right there. Looks pretty good. And this one is another Kanza. It doesn't look very good right there, so we'll just see what happens. And we spin around here, you get to see another part of the orchard. I've got about 75 to 80 trees over here on this part of my farm. But I've got multiple fields with pecan trees planted. This is just one part of our pecan farm. And those are Stewart, Pawnee, a few Gloria Grand, some Lakota, several different varieties living over there. This was a Mandan tree that I grafted very successfully, but the nut quality and the scab, it just did not meet my expectations. So this winter I cut out the top of the tree, which you can see here, and I left some of these shoots on the side growing so I could graft. So this has 4 different attempts at grafting a different variety. And if we come in here, you can see it's looking pretty good. And there's good bud development. And I don't have a metal tag on this one yet, but I can tell that this one's going to be a Kanza or Kanza. So that's a much better variety for me. I think the quality of the nut's going to be better. I think I'm going to have better results than with the Mandan that I had done here previously. So I've got 4 different little branches grafted, and we'll just have to see which one or which ones do well. And I'll take the best one and keep that, and then we'll just eliminate the others. But you can look here up the row and see our beautiful farm. And this is another Mandan. I'm going to leave her alone. A little bit too developed for me to worry about reworking this one. And it's a Gloria Grand there in the distance. We've got our little greenhouse. We've got some chickens in the background. But anyway, I'm going to try to slowly spin around so you can see part of our orchard here. Beautiful time of the year. And looking forward to a successful growing season. And I'll spin back this other way. And I've cut part of the grass over here. That's what I'm using for the organic matter you have seen on several trees. But I work all day at a full-time job for local government, and I don't have a lot of time to be out here. So I come out when I can after work, cut what I can, and I will get caught up on this other mowing chore as soon as possible. It might be later today. But anyway, that's what's happening out here on the farm. Thank you for joining me on this farm tour. Hope you have a great day, and over and out.